Silly season is one of the most anticipated happenings in a Formula 1 season. We were treated to an absolutely amazing and thrilling silly season last season, with multiple shock switches and retirements. But there are rumours that this year's silly season might even become crazier. And it has everything to do with the star drivers at Mercedes and Ferrari. They've become unhappy with their current situation, and out of nowhere a swap deal seems to be going around in the paddock. Could Hamilton make the switch to the red team, and could Leclerc join forces with childhood friend Russell? Let's find out. It's an open secret that Charles Leclerc is in talks with Mercedes, but Leo Torini doesn't see it as a clean swap with Lewis Hamilton, since even Max Verstappen wouldn't make it in today's Ferrari. What do you think? With neither Ferrari nor Mercedes able to compete with Red Bull now, both top drivers, Leclerc and Hamilton, are thought to be thinking about their futures. Pundits have suggested a straight swap, with Leclerc going to Mercedes and Hamilton going to Ferrari, which Eddie Jordan feels would provide the necessary shake-up. However, while respected Italian writer Torini claims Leclerc has been in contact with Mercedes, and Ferrari's president John Elkann has already asked for information on Hamilton's contract, he believes that Britain would not open the door for Leclerc until he retires. That Leclerc is talking to Mercedes is the open secret, Torini reports. Everyone knows it, from the remote garage in Maranello to the Indian Ocean. In his unfinished career, he showed flashes of pure class. He's the first to know that time is passing. Russell is very, very strong, but if Hamilton were to stop, whoever pays him Stuttgart might not accept another Bottas alongside a driver who's not yet a world champion. But the question is, if Hamilton wants to quit, given that the 38-year-old has stated multiple times that he still wants to reach number 8. What would he do if he realised that he could no longer win with the Silver Arrows? Torini ponders. I do not know. On the other hand, I know that Hamilton has never been close to the Reds. There was never a negotiation. Never. It is true that John Elkann, who became president after Marchionne's death, asked for information on Hamilton's contract. We were in 2019. Vettel was almost at the end of his credits, but Lewis, having won titles in a flurry running alone, was not in the least interested in the prospect. Today, 2023, but with the contracts in force in Maranello, we're talking about 2025. The media hit would be sensational. But Ferrari needs much more than a marketing operation. And Hamilton, he continues, wants a car that can compete for race victories and the 8th World Championship, something that even Verstappen couldn't accomplish in today's Ferrari. What could convince Hamilton to close up shop at a Scuderia that hasn't touched the ball for almost 20 years, he continued. Not the money, he's richer than Sardana Palace. Not the emotional challenge. A champion goes where he thinks he can be the added value that transforms podiums into victory. But Verstappen wouldn't make it with the current Ferrari. And Torini believes that if Hamilton and Verstappen were in the same car, in my opinion, the Dutchman would win. So what comes next for Leclerc and Hamilton? Leclerc is under contract with Ferrari until the end of 2024, so he has time to choose his next move. And a lot will rely on what Hamilton does. If the Briton decides to retire at the conclusion of the season, and Ferrari enforces Leclerc's contract, which runs until the end of 2024, his Mercedes opportunity will be gone for the foreseeable future. However, if Hamilton remains for another season, giving himself and Mercedes one more opportunity at that 8th World Championship, Leclerc will be in line to succeed him in 2025. However, if Hamilton re-signs for 2 years, Ferrari will have to decide whether they want to keep Leclerc for one more season, knowing full well that he may only be using them as a stopgap before moving to Mercedes. Of course, all of this is speculative, with Lando Norris and a few other drivers connected to the Mercedes seat. And there are also rumours that Leclerc may join Verstappen at Red Bull in 2025. Not to mention, Aston Martin, whose early season success has made the Silverstone team an appealing choice for the likes of Leclerc and Hamilton. Furthermore, Toto Wolff recently claimed that Mercedes is not considering alternative possibilities if Hamilton does not sign a new contract. It may sound naive, but I really struggle to think of a plan B, if my plan A is still the one that is my favourite, Wolff said at the time. I don't want to engage in discussions with other drivers because I'm happy with the ones that are in the team, that's for sure. At the moment, there's no plan B, it's Lewis, he concluded. The media also enjoys speculating about Lewis's possible switch to Ferrari. Torini emphasised that this is unlikely. On the other hand, I know that Hamilton has never been close to the red team, Torini said about it. Former Ferrari chairman Luca Di Montezemolo thought about it when he was disappointed in Fernando Alonso, but Lewis had already settled in Mercedes. There was never a deal, never. To summarise, despite repeated media speculation, it's quite unlikely at this moment that Hamilton and Mercedes would discontinue their iconic alliance, and it's virtually clear that Lewis's contract will be renewed. This leaves us to wonder what Leclerc is willing to do in the near future. Could you see a swap happening at the end of the year or next year? Or will Hamilton stay at Mercedes until he retires? And what about Leclerc? Would he be up for the challenge at Mercedes? Or would he prefer to wait for a seat to open up at Red Bull? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But if that isn't giving Ferrari enough headaches, they also have another driver that is causing them headache. As according to Spanish daily El Nacional, Ferrari is losing patience with Carlos Sainz, who's not performing in the team as expected. Could Ferrari lose 2 star drivers in one season? Ferrari emerged on the grid this year with great hopes. The Italian team confident that their SF23 was capable of challenging Red Bull for the championship crowns. Instead, it's been a poor start to the season, with the car not only missing downforce but also being a tyre eater, like its predecessor. Sainz and his teammate Charles Leclerc are now trailing not only Red Bull, but also Aston Martin and Mercedes. It's also exposed the Scuderia to criticism, with Sainz the most recent victim, El Nacional labelling him a failure for Ferrari. El Nacional described this year's first 3 races as Ferrari's worst start to a season since 2009, adding, "And the expectations only get worse." Given what has occurred, they appear to be far from improving. And the Spanish publication believes Ferrari is to blame for this. To this, we must add that Ferrari is starting to get tired of Carlos Sainz, the report continued. The Spanish driver's not performing in the team as expected, and they're getting fed up with the excuses from Madrid. The truth is that, for some time now, at Ferrari they're beginning to be upset with Sainz. He's not performed as expected. He is disappointed. They thought he would be a star driver and he's not showing it. If he wants to continue, he must begin to show why he was trusted. But now there's no hint of that. Surprisingly, even though Sainz has collected 20 points to his teammate's 6, El Nacional goes on to say that Leclerc is the star at Ferrari, and that his displeasure with Sainz's antics in qualifying at the Australian Grand Prix does not bode well for Sainz's future. As if that were not enough, the report added, Charles Leclerc has also put a hand in his matter. He's furious with his teammate for failing to assist him in the Australian Grand Prix. Leclerc at Ferrari is seen as a star. Thus, the future for Sainz in the Italian team is on the wire. But what went wrong with Ferrari's SF23? Why has it left Sainz and Leclerc so disappointed? Earlier this season, Sainz indicated that Ferrari may have lost the ball when it came to this year's floor regulations and the FIA changes to reduce porpoising. Sainz admitted earlier this season that they had expectations of the revised floor regulations and how they'd improve the car. A bit more peaky, less downforce, only to discover during pre-season testing that rivals had not suffered from the changed regulations. They're much quicker than last year. As a result, the team was left with a car that was imbalanced, weak in downforce, and suffering from excessive degradation, which was a minor issue in qualifying but a major issue over a Grand Prix distance. The Scuderia is working hard to change that, but it will take time. There is no quick cure or magic bullet in Formula 1. The team is apparently planning a big overhaul for Round 5, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. For the time being, as Ferrari works to restore their fortunes, Sainz has advised fans and the media to temper their criticism. It's just that excessive criticism doesn't help. And that lack of help isn't exactly what we need right now, Sainz said. That's why we try to stay away from such comments. We don't need any additional distractions or other people who drag us down. Will Ferrari be able to turn the SF23 around? And an even better question, will Sainz be able to perform good enough so that Ferrari wants to keep him? And what about the situation with Leclerc? Could you really see Ferrari replacing both drivers at the end of this or next year? Even if Hamilton would be willing to join, they'd still need a second driver. What are your thoughts on the current situation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to make sure your favorite driver stays at his team. And we'll see you in the next video.